The former US President Donald Trump's criminal trial, meanwhile, as well in New York, is in its fifth week. His ex-lawyer, Michael Cohen, on the stand. The former president's personal lawyer is the key witness of the case and was questioned about his record of lying under oath in different cases. Mr. Cohen claimed he has hoped Mr. Trump would protect him if he lied about a hush money payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 elections. The former president spoke outside the courthouse saying that the trial is run by Biden's office.
This is a Biden trial. This all comes out of the White House and the Department of Justice. This is all them. In fact, a lead person from the DOJ is running the trial. So Biden's office is running this trial. This trial is a scam and it's a sham and it shouldn't happen.
My regular guest and expert on US politics, Professor Simon Jackman, is here to talk through another big week. Look, quickly on this case, because there's some bigger news this week out of the US. I've just thought it was interesting to see put online that would it really be worth pursuing at this level, at this sort of criminal level, what's happened to Donald Trump? Is that getting some cut through? People go, look, did it happen with Stormy Daniels? Well, you know, there's a bit of smoke, maybe there's a bit of fire, but is this the level of crime that it's put up to be?
This is the problem, Tom, with the New York case. Right, and why I think, although the facts and the chain of facts is reasonably straightforward in my view, getting a jury to say, oh, but by the way, this is a crime. The crime is the falsification of business records. A jury, no matter how many times they've been told that by a prosecution, a lot of ordinary people are going to say, oh, the thing he did wrong was having the affair with Stormy Daniels and paying hush money. And they're going, where's the crime? And again, I think time and time again, the thing for both the jury, but the American people, more to the point, to try and get their heads around is the crime is falsifying business records to do it in the context of an election. So it's essentially you're making a campaign contribution to yourself and covering it up, which is illegal under federal law. Now, if that seems rather technical, it is, and that's always going to be the problem with this New York case, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you could pick a case that's actually going to go to trial, this wouldn't be it for the Democrats, and alas, it looks like the only one. Nonetheless, the big news is Joe Biden agreeing to a debate. Now, in Australian politics, the person agreeing to debates or wanting them is usually always the underdog. Donald Trump, I just think he wouldn't ever walk away from this sort of stuff because he likes it. So do we read into this that Joe Biden is the one that realises he needs this, even though this might be his big weakness?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting, Tom. So much about this. They're doing it away from the Presidential Debates Commission for a start. So that signals immediately, I think, that both candidates, both campaigns have decided we ought to do this. And I think each of them wants to establish their own circuit breaker. Trump, for his part, I think, wants to be seen as Biden's equal. He's not a criminal defendant, but as someone, a real live contender for another tilt at the presidency of the United States. Biden, I think, wants to stop this momentum and he cannot seem to pull ahead in swing state polling. And I think Biden needs to, and I think he wants to vigorously demonstrate that he's up for another 4 years. And I think both of them have messages that they want to get out there. That's why both campaigns have really seized this imperative. We're going very early. We've never had a debate this early. And it's been a long time. Since 1976, these things have been run by this commission. So I think that signals to me, Tom, that both sides have things that they see and a real imperative to do this now.
It makes it all the more fascinating. Well, let's go to a little bit of the last debate, 2020. It's 4 long years ago, just to remember how these things go.
We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
Kristen, they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not
they built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built
talking
the cages,
about.
Joe?
Let's talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated.
I mean, the thing that strikes me about that is Joe Biden's rapid there. He picks up off Donald Trump. He jumps in, and just not really the way he goes these days. So it's even back then, you know, remember in this sort of pre-election period, people were saying, oh, you know, Joe Biden should be getting out there more and Trump was out there a lot. It's a tougher hill to climb this time for Joe Biden, isn't it?
Look, I got to agree with you, Tom. I first met Joe Biden in the flesh in 2016 on a visit he made to Australia as then Vice President. I saw him again in Iowa in 2020, and the years are not kind. I don't think there's any escaping that for Joe Biden. I think he's got to take the Ronald Reagan playbook up a notch, be very calm and be very measured. There's a debate about the debate, and that debate is do they sit or stand? Trump wants them to stand, but the Biden team apparently would prefer a sit-down mode of presentation. Trump wants a live audience. Biden does not. So I think the atmospherics matter a lot, particularly because of this question that will not go away, and nor should it, about is Biden up physically, mentally, for another 4 years. I think that's why he wants to have the debate, but he wants it under his terms. And I think it's going to be very tricky for both men. They have both strengths and weaknesses. Trump goes a bull at a gate. And I think Biden might even play some jiu-jitsu with that and let that become a strength for him. That at the same time, he gets to be a bit more slow and measured. That may be his secret weapon against Trump that's, if nothing, if not voluble. So it's going to be fascinating, Tom. It's so early. And as I said earlier, I think both camps are keen to re-establish some momentum for put to the sideline, I think, negative images of either candidate.
No, it's going to be fascinating. Look, very briefly, fascinating visit from Scott Morrison alongside Donald Trump. Apparently AUKUS is something still supported by Donald Trump. And amongst all of that, Kevin Rudd's there, just in case you didn't think he was capable of diplomacy. He's going to help launch Scott Morrison's book. Yeah,
well, look, that was really fascinating. And I think Rudd himself, you know, talked about the role of Christianity in politics, and I think, you know, coming from a different side of politics, obviously, to Scott Morrison, that's perhaps the one thing they've got in common. What was interesting for me, Tom, was the cast of characters from Trumpland or the Trump administration that came out to support Morrison's book launch. Were there at the event, Mike Pence and Pompeo. I remember being in Washington during Morrison's state visit. It was very clear at sort of off camera on the sidelines, there was real warmth and friendship among those men of faith and whose faith was clearly big drivers in their public life. That was just evident, the real comradeship and kinship between Scott Morrison and Mike Pence and Pompeo in particular. No surprise that they were sitting alongside or attending the event with Morrison. The other thing I'd put on the table, Tom, just real quickly, is that boy, oh boy, if there's a change of government in both countries, one in Australia and secondly in the United States, I think Morrison, by the way, just did a great auditioning job if we have a change of ambassador over there. I know he's there alongside Rudd, but for mine, I thought, wow, is former Prime Minister Morrison perhaps auditioning for a potential role if we get two changes
who
of
knows?
government?
Stranger things. If there's one change, maybe Morrison is the special envoy for Kevin Rudd. Wouldn't that be interesting as well? Simon Jackman, big week in US politics, wasn't it? Good to get your thoughts. Thank you.